A woman abandoned on the prairie, wolves circling closer with every breath of wind. A cowboy riding the lonely trail, unaware that fate is about to throw him into the deadliest gamble of his life. What happens when two worlds collide, one of survival, the other of justice, under the burning sun of the frontier? But what if the real danger isn't the wolves at all, but the men who left her there to die? And what if saving her meant challenging every law, every prejudice, and every bullet the West had to offer? Subscribe to the channel for more Wild West Revealed, and share your thoughts in the comments. The story begins on a blistering afternoon in Arizona territory. The desert wind carried dust like knives, scratching against the skin of anyone daring to stand its path. Jacob Callahan, a cowboy with tired eyes and boots worn thin from too many miles, rode slowly along the ridge. He had no destination, only the stubborn rhythm of his horse and the need to stay moving, as if outrunning ghosts he never spoke of. His heart was hardened by years of violence, yet not completely closed. That flicker of decency was what made him pause when he heard the faintest cry carried by the wind. Down in a dry wash he spotted her. An Apache woman, tied to a stake, her hands raw from the rope, her lips cracked from thirst. Around her, 3 wolves prowled in widening circles, hungry, patient, waiting. Jacob's hand went to the revolver at his side. He fired a shot into the air. The wolves scattered, but only for a moment. He spurred his horse forward, drawing closer until they snarled and retreated into the brush. Jumping down, he cut the ropes that bound her. Her eyes, fierce even in suffering, met his with a mix of defiance and confusion. She spoke in broken English, enough to whisper one word. "Why?" Jacob didn't answer. He didn't know himself. But something inside him wouldn't let him leave her for dead. He lifted her onto his horse, knowing full well that by doing so he'd just made himself an enemy of whoever wanted her gone. Back in town, the sheriff, Bill Hanlon, was already on edge. Word had spread that the notorious outlaw Luke Tanner had been seen nearby. Tanner wasn't just a thief, he was a man who thrived on chaos, turning neighbor against neighbor, burning bridges in more ways than one. When Jacob rode in with the Apache woman, townsfolk gasped, whispering in suspicion. In their eyes, she was nothing but trouble, a reminder of raids and bloodshed that had scarred too many families. Sheriff Hanlon stepped out of his office, his badge catching the afternoon light. "Callahan," he said, voice flat. "You know what you're doing. Bringing her here?" Jacob held the sheriff's stare. She was left for wolves. Didn't seem right. The woman, who later revealed her name as Naya, stood silent but proud, her back straight despite weakness. She explained, piece by piece, that Tanner's gang had captured her, killed her brother, and left her as bait, a cruel message to both her people and the settlers. Tanner wanted fear, division, chaos to thrive. That night Jacob heard whispers in the saloon. Townsfolk were uneasy. Some wanted her gone. Some wanted her hanged, convinced she was part of some scheme. But Jacob noticed something else. Tanner's men were among the crowd, stirring the pot, fanning flames of hate. He realized the outlaw wasn't just after gold or cattle. He wanted war. The next morning, Tanner himself rode into town with 6 men. Dust clung to his black coat and his grin was as sharp as a blade. "Sheriff," he said, voice dripping with mock courtesy, "you've got something of mine, that Apache witch." The Hanlon's hand twitched near his holster, but Jacob stepped forward. "She's not yours. She's not anyone's." Tanner's grin widened. "You just made yourself a target, cowboy." The showdown simmered all day. The town split between fear and silence. By sundown, Tanner's men circled the outskirts, waiting for a spark. Jacob, Naya, and the sheriff stood alone at the center of it all. Innocent townsfolk peered from windows, praying not to be caught in the crossfire. Then Tanner fired first. Bullets flew, shattering windows, splintering wood. Jacob returned fire, his shots steady, deliberate. The sheriff fought at his side, but the outlaws pressed hard. Amid the chaos, it was Naya who proved the twist no one expected. She seized a fallen rifle, her aim sharp, her courage unshakable. Shot by shot, she drove Tanner's men back, her spirit blazing with the memory of her brother. The final duel came swift and brutal. Tanner and Jacob faced off in the dusty street, silence falling over the town. Tanner's hand twitched, but Jacob was faster. His shot tore through Tanner's chest, ending the outlaw's reign of terror with one echo that rolled across the desert. When the smoke cleared, the townsfolk stepped out, eyes wide at what they had witnessed. They had seen an Apache woman fight not as an enemy, but as a savior. Jacob looked at her, and for the first time, she allowed herself the faintest smile. The sheriff tipped his hat. "Gus, you were right, Callahan. Sometimes doing what's right ain't the same as doing what's easy." In the days that followed, Naya chose to ride on, her path uncertain but her dignity intact. Jacob watched her leave, knowing their alliance was brief but unbreakable. He had saved her life, but she had saved the town's soul. The moral was clear: courage knows no color, no boundary, no border. In a land where hate could grow like weeds, it took bravery, sometimes from the unlikeliest of allies, to remind folks what humanity truly meant.